Hello, my beautiful people. How is it going? So, I am going to talk to you today and try to attempt to do this while doing dishes, which is a good time to be in meditation or doing meditative things like I usually recommend. But I'm not going to do that today because I just want to get started. So I have been missing in action, and I would say actually for myself as well, because if you haven't listened to me before talk about this is like my form of therapy. So basically when I'm not talking on here and I'm not writing, I say that I suffer, and I mean that when I do that, that it since it is a form of expression, I have all these things in my mind kind of scattered. No matter how much that I meditate, I feel like I need to be meditating 24 hours a day. So there are a lot of things to talk about since I've been gone. Actually not gone, even though I just tell myself I'm actually not very much. I also like to show these sorts of things because I'm a real person. So I don't need to be sitting in some sort of formal studio wearing my professional attire uniform, which is pretty much my tracksuit Adidas thing. And because I don't have any sort of custom, kick-ass jacket yet or anything, with my logo or my black smock aesthetics thing. I'm a real person, and my daily activities, which I don't know that a lot of people even wash their dishes by hand. I always despised this growing up, and yard work, raking leaves is so terrible. Now I feel like I've just done this in the last part of my life. Dishwashing and yard work or physical labor has been a very much part of my life the past 5 years. So getting into me, not really much on social media, but basically I hop on every once in a while, and I really don't do that much there. And a lot of messages within me actually are telling me to stay away from that world because I can't. I have to share and put up my things, regardless of people if they're looking at them or not. So, of course, there's always lots going on in my brain that I get, like I've said before, that I get information, just thoughts, things to write about, things. There's actually quite a bit considering I have no social life, really, right? Okay, so, but I do get out there, I do things, working out, starting, as you can see, back to boxing and stuff again. So the different things, as I always do in kind of like these updates, is I kind of go through different areas that may not have to do with each other necessarily, but they all have to do with mindset. So I hope that at least you understand there and that I am clear. It all has to do with mindset. And sometimes, I'll try things and I don't know, it's like I get a new perspective on, okay, I do something, say for instance, the boxing, and I have a new thought about it, right? Okay, so I'm back to boxing now. That's part of my mental health, right? And I haven't done it in a couple of years, and I ended up training with somebody who trained under my previous trainer. So that was pretty badass that we connected like that. So I could go into talking about that, which is one of the great parts about it is me getting back involved with younger people again. They really make me feel alive. I love helping. I've always in my training in anything, pretty much my whole life I've always been open to learning. I never know that I never think that I know everything, right? So I guess that's called being humble. So I never knew like the word for that, but you get into training with it may not even necessarily be meatheads, but people that aren't so, I guess what the word is, maybe helpful or whatever it is, right? And maybe they're not even doing it on purpose. So I love training, so I'm glad to be getting back to that. And there's a lot of things I'm having to relearn, like not pivoting my foot when I punch and stuff like that. And really just trying to perfect things over the years that I never really ended up perfecting, especially in boxing, even in Muay Thai. So I'm taking a break. I'm just doing that right now. I don't know to say taking a break from Muay Thai. It's just I love the school that I was at, but there's just different things there. So I tried to pursue looking at another Muay Thai school that mostly focuses on pro fighters, and I loved that school too. But I don't know. I guess I'm just not. Maybe that'll be a once every once in a while thing. You know how the cost adds up. Okay, so that's the update there. The other part I think that I wanted to say is because there's other topics I could talk about. I'll just say it real brief before I get into talking about the next things, the feeling stuck episode and my last 5 years of my journey is how, okay, I'm all about keeping it 100 and that a lot about the programming and conditioning and following the crowd and all that stuff, which I have never been like that as a teenager, right? I always thought differently. I always just I don't understand these people doing these things and I don't get it in pop culture, right? You'll hear me talk about that. So, what I was going to say is because I was at boxing and I'm all, here we go again, is that again, part of cultural things, I know that things are evolving. Okay, I'll give you examples maybe next time I talk. But I was at boxing and basically somebody made a comment, which I really think, and I'm a shit talker, now, but shit talking about only children. And I guess the part of anything that I would like to say, which I could do an entire episode on this when it comes to parenting, is doing what works for you. And just from my perspective, I always knew that if I was going to do it, I would only want one, right? One and done. It's a good thing that aligned with my husband because he was the same way too. Okay, and just knowing myself and confirming when I had her, okay, right? So that's personal choice. Well, programming and conditioning, there are people that just do it just to do it out of peer pressure or whatever the reason, okay? There's hundreds of reasons that people have multiple children. But the point is, the person had said after, I don't exactly know what I said. It may have been just, I may have asked him how many he had. I think he has 3. And I had 1, and he's all, why did you do that to her? And I just thought, how, and I'm not saying that I haven't said things in my life to people, but I get really sensitive about things like this because you never know people's situation, for whatever the reason of judging. Everybody has the right to choose whatever they want. Okay, that's how I look at it. I'm not going to force it on anybody. So I have a lot of empathy and compassion for others. So for any reason, you never know why somebody would only have one child. It could just be that they did not, they had their body parts removed, right? Hysterectomy, whatever it is, because I believe that even if somebody were to tell you you can't have more, I don't believe that, right? Because I believe in the power of the mind. So you never know somebody's situation, and I understand this person may not have even been aware. It's just his belief system and what he feels like that comes as a result of having an only child, which my child fits none of the characteristics. I had another client of mine, bless her heart, she was in her 70s, so I totally understood. And she's like, after I told her whatever it was, this was way back in the day, because our daughter's 16 now, she's like, oh, I don't think that's very fair to the child. And I thought, okay, that's nice you think like that, because again, like I said, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a right to an opinion, and this goes back to the whole, if we walked around in life caring about what every motherfucker said, we are going to live our lives for others. That's what we are doing, people. And so there's no consideration when people always talk about only children are spoiled, they're going to be this and that and whatever, and all this sort of stuff where it's kind of like, dude, you have 2 and 3 and 4 kids and all of them are spoiled, right? And you had 2 because you needed one to play with the other when they're both playing on all their electronics and whatever anyway and not playing with each other. So I'm old school, people. So when I say old school, it's like, I'm not even going to get into that because it's going to sound like I'm judging people's parenting styles. I'm just saying that my daughter is like that, and one of the most important things that was to me is that for her to think outside herself, being spiritually connected, understanding life's connections, and being very confident to handle herself in the world. And we do tons of volunteer work with It's called St. John's Shelter. We work in the kitchen. I'm looking into other things. We do stuff at my Thai temple. Like, so it's really all about your raising. See, this is already going to be a show on Only Children Talk. And you can go listen to one of my other shows on parenting that's basically like everybody tries to tell you how to parent. And I understand that we all want to give advice like, oh, what we would have known. But again, go through it yourself. Trust yourself and what you feel is right. All the way from the beginning, talking about sleeping with your kid. I mean, it just depends on everything. It's like, well, if you choose to sleep with them with a baby, like if you're worried about them sleeping with you until they're like an adult or something like that, I mean, you think you can't kick them out of the bed after a certain age. You know what I mean? So you can always change the rules at any point in time. And you can even tell them that someday this is going to be different today, right? And that's why I went into that video talking about democratic disciplining, because I was trying to find different ways aside from spanking, because I wanted to find a different way to parent. Because when I was going through it, yes, it makes you very irritable. It made me, and I was like, this is why people drink and smoke. People, this is why I can see, and I never did that to manage anything, you know. So long story long. That's why I can do shows on talking about conditioning and programming and people just following what society is saying about, you're looked down upon if you only have one child, and you're looked down upon if you're single, right? You must suck. That's why I said there is something called happily single. When people like might hear somebody else, oh, I got a divorce, oh, I'm so sorry, and they're like, no, it's all good, it's fine, we're friends, we just couldn't be live together or whatever reason, right? You grew apart. I think this whole thing again, finality and permanence. People think about when you get married or you are even in relationships that it's something that's going to be forever. It's a whole risk, people. You can't even, people's emotions and moods change all of the time. You don't think that stuff, where people, they've been married for a long time and they've both been working and they retire and then they realize they don't like each other very much. Like, it's just, again, I think a lot of things are changing and the younger generations are realizing, they don't want to get divorced, or, I'm sorry, they don't want to get married or whatever it is. Things are changing now. So, okay, I'm going to end that area there. I want to roll on that. Don't even get me started on that. So I never had a fear, okay? So I never felt pressured. I never, with the second kid thing, I never felt like, oh my God, did I make the right decision? Or anything like that. And I definitely, just things I just really, learned with the multitasking, and that I'm just not a good candidate. And I don't know, maybe if I was really, I mean, right now I can go see teenagers and take it with them and coach and do different stuff with the badass girls on the run, which I love even way more better than Girl Scouts. So that's for me, right? That's a little bit outside the box. My whole, it's pretty outside the box. Because most women I've talked to, even as an esthetician, a lot of them already knew, that they wanted to have kids. They already had they already knew, right? They had that feeling inside of them. I never had that feeling inside of me, because I would have, even adopted, right? If I was going to really go that direction. I just wanted to be involved with them as, teenagers, right? Body image issues. That's what I thought I was going to be more involved with. So, the next subject I will be posting up probably shortly after this, in the next couple of hours, my full episode on feeling stuck. It's going to take me more time to timestamp the entire thing, so at least in the description, I kind of just put all the different areas I'm going to talk about. And that is one of my most serious shows ever, so I decided I'm going to put it in my Breaking Patterns playlist 2024, and I'm also putting it on my relationships playlist, and I put all in there all the different what do you call it, my previews for it, all the things that led up to it, because it just kept going on and on. I'm like, I gotta share this, I gotta share that. So that is going to be up, and I'm excited to share for anybody that helps. It helps with narcissistic abuse, and then I also talk about my own journey, bringing up my story, which they were not. I'm not labeling my friends as narcissists, the girls I grew up with, and that I don't. That's not part of it. It's basically about how I was hypnotized by the power of them, and maybe even gonna say that I was idolizing one of my best friends, so you can refer to that, and I put that's on the playlist Nora, the beginning. And what else was I gonna say about that? Okay, so that has some really good walkaways. Because it's not time stamped, you might have to listen to the whole thing. Sorry, 45 minutes. And feel free, yes, as always, making comments or whatever it is that you feel that you would like, if it helps you. I really think I should be asking people for more likes, just so I guess for analytics, because I haven't researched it enough, as far as liking it, so that I know, hey, if more people like this kind of stuff, I will talk about it more. And I know my channel is growing really slowly. I just haven't found anybody yet to really help me with it, and what I want to do with it there. I know what I want to do with it there, and then I started a couple videos on Rumble just to kind of see. I don't even know if I'm going to finish it there. I don't know, people. I've just built this so much and put so much energy into this. I don't know what I want to do over there. I just heard it was another way to monetize, and you could go live. So YouTube has just so much stuff to research. Lastly, okay, so you might find it interesting. So I am not scared to talk about my last 5 years in my journey that has stressed me out. I would actually say 10 years, when I thought I'd actually get into self-defense instructing and being involved with kids, just teaching way more workshops and all that sort of thing. So there have been ups and downs in my aesthetics career, and then the coaching thing and stuff like that, right? So I'm not scared to share that with you. I don't care. We're all going through our own journey, and apparently I have to learn it in a very rough way in dealing with myself and waiting for divine timing and all of the magical things that I know can be, right? Because I'm already doing my life purpose, I'm already serving, all of that, right? But I'm evolving from that part of the healing world of my life in the past, and a practitioner that way in the treatment room. So we will see where that ends up going. So what I say is I'm not scared to share that with you. Well, in the meantime, I've been trying these random jobs, right? And basically they're in retail, and I've been applying in food service, which here in Sacramento it's very saturated, but getting to see what it's all like and just comparing different things, like not even just pay, like they're paying almost some places $20 an hour, will train you, will give you benefits, all this stuff where people were telling us back in the day, it's almost like, you needed college specifically or the specific education to pay you more, right? But a lot of these kids too are getting in managerial positions, which is great. Okay, so that's number one. So food service and then retail and all these different things, right? So the point of the story is that if you remember anything about me talking about evolving culture and I am involved in that, in the activism world, is that the positive that I'm seeing, which is great that we are moving forward, is that I have to basically watch these videos, right? They're on either sexual harassment. Yeah, it was specifically sexual harassment. And they give really great scenarios, because I'm saying they're great. It's not just like movie quality. It's great because they're so realistic. I was like, this is kick-ass, because you can't be given every scenario in life. I can't give you every scenario in life. I can't give you how I'd react to those, right? But and from my own experience. But anyway, they were perfect. But that's not. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. But these trainings, it's really it's dumb because it's great and it's dumb. It's dumb because it's taken this long. Why weren't they doing this before? Right? Making sexual harassment, these different things more serious and explaining, and of course, of all the different gender things to be respectful of everybody. But that's what I wanted to tell you there, and I'm sure a lot of you may be seeing it if you're younger and applying for different jobs and stuff. You're already seeing this kind of stuff. But for us, older people, it's really great to see these things happening, and I wanted to just share that with you all, unless you have if you're already seeing this stuff. But there's been a lot of frustration, even in the job search of applying for things, and you take these damn tests that stress you out, and the questions can be trick questions and all that stuff. But I'm not going to go into that. So, the disappointing thing that I thought though was kind of wild, I'm like, are you serious? Is that I was reading about the sexual harassment thing is that so unless you live in California, California is one of the only states or the only state that will like protect you on all levels. So it had this list of like basically if you're unpaid or a volunteer and a couple of other things, like basically you're not covered if you're harassed. I was like, oh, nice. Okay. So that's another thing, right? Going to be waiting to change. I would hope that makes it as what like a federal thing. Um, so what else? What else there that I wanted to talk about? I've already ran my mouth for 21 minutes, and sometimes I'm like, how do I even have that much to talk about? I am going to make that comment for the rest of my life because I've said before I never thought that I would talk this much after self-defense, talk this much in life, and I think I might be talking a lot more too because in some senses, I feel isolated. So, aside from like I've talked about again, it's not necessarily finding more friends and things like that. I'm not here to be having a bitch fest about that. I socializing or a social life. It doesn't mean going to the bar and doing things like that. I just need to do more fun things and not so much focusing on all of this mental health like 24/7 and just getting more involved in maybe different kinds of volunteer work and yeah, watching different things than I normally do, which is all this esoteric stuff and all these different things that are supposed to be going on and happening, like this solar eclipse thing I want to know more about. Anyway, people, so I think that's all for right now I want to talk about. I probably could talk about more with the whole boxing thing. I can always elaborate more and go more into that. But just wanted to talk to myself and give some updates where my head is at and just trying to avoid. It's not avoid, it's peace. And when you go through isolation, I'm sure a lot of you will know it's not always to say it's a good thing, but when you're removing different energies or things that don't serve you anymore, whether it's people or whatever it is, I don't know. I kind of always been, walking in some senses inside of myself, like my whole life, right? Walking the journey on our own in some ways. It's just extra been going on the past 5 years. And so I have to also, though, recognize, I think I'm naturally learning to understand this, is that I have to look out for my own mental health. I have to look out for my own mental health. And so there was a job actually that it was jeopardizing my mental health, and I definitely had to leave. Because of that. That was a very interesting position as an innkeeper that I talked about on one of my shows. So I think that is interesting for me to actually just come to that realization of just looking out for myself. And when I go to these different jobs, like I'm going to ask them questions, I'm going to interview them, you know? It's kind of like, you know, the whole dating somebody thing. Like, we have to feel worthy. If we know what we're worthy to be, that we should get paid, or like we want to be respected in some sort of way by the person that we're with, just respecting, you know, out of respect. I know that I know that it may not seem like, I don't know, I just kind of used to pain as information, so me dealing with difficult personalities has almost become natural at this point. Maybe I just kind of know how to deal with it. So, you know, relationships are going to have its ups and downs, and I just kind of push through, and the resilience that I guess it's say is kind of like built up, and my training has helped me. So now I'm probably rambling on. Hopefully you can still hear this through all of my water washing. Loud noises. Um, so anyway, that's what's up, people. And anyway, that episode of Feeling Stuck, I think it really can be, I don't want to say enjoyed by many. I think many of you might just even think it's fascinating because it's a personal story of my dad's, and talking again about a female, which is usually in the media, you don't hear about females too much in terms of, we'll just use the word mistreating men. Because again, she also just was only, my mom was only coming from the place that she knew of how she was, you know? So I don't know if she would even consider that she mistreated people. But anyway, she was still a smart woman. So I still think that episode is actually pretty fascinating. So even if you're not going through anything like that, I think it's really good and informative. And so I'll be putting it up there soon. Okay, people? So I will talk to you next time. I will, and meet you in the next video. Okay? Bye.